You hear me from your end? If you can hear me from your end, please signify quickly so that we can get started. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being on here. Um, I think we had a little glitch, and that is why we had a little issues before starting out. It's already 10 minutes in, and I want to welcome you especially to the preventive care webinar part four. And we're going to be having an exciting time today. We're really going to learn so many things concerning our health. And as usual, I want you to take the link that brought you here. If you're already watching, take the link that brought you here, put it out on your WhatsApp, put it on your Facebook, invite your friends, invite your enemies, invite everybody, bring them all in here. We all need to hear about our health. We all need to learn. We all need to, improve and, get better with our health. And we have, an awesome guest today, and she's going to be taking us on a very crucial subject pertaining to our health. So, take the link that brought you, put it out there, invite everybody, your friends, your neighbors, as usual, put the links out there. And uh, as you're putting the link out there, we'll be back in few minutes so that we can get started, when more people have joined. All right, so we're going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Take the link, put it out there, and then we'll get back in 2 minutes. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get started and get into what we have for today. All right, so as usual, we are going to get started with talking about preventive care and what preventive care is all about. Then our guest for today, who have highly anticipated, will talk about fitness and then how we can really get started with fitness, what fitness really is all about, and how we can begin to get started into the world of fitness. All right, so what is preventive care all about? We are going to get started with that. What is preventive care all about? I usually like to use this story where um, there is a kid, probably went for a picnic with your friend, and then you get out there and you see a child coming down from the stream. The child is drowning, and then you dive in and you save the child. You bring out the child from the river, you save the child from drowning, and then after some minutes you see another child drowning again. You jump in and then you save the child, and then a few minutes later you see another child also drowning. You jump in. The logical thing to do is to think, wow, what is really happening? Who is pushing this child, these children into the river from the other end? Then you have to go to the other end and check what is really happening, what is really going on. That is how it is with preventive care. Preventive care is all about being steps ahead of your health. You're not just waiting for illnesses to come. You're not just waiting to fall sick and then you start running around to look for what to do or how to maintain your health. You are actively taking actions to ensure that you are staying healthy. That means you are going to the the beginning of the river to ensure that there's nobody pushing the kids in. Going there to ensure that everything is in check, to ensure that you are steadily healthy. That's what preventive care is all about. It's about being one step ahead of your health. So last month, in our preventive care series, we brought on a dentist, and the dentist really talked about several ways you can be steps ahead when it comes to your dental health. So this month and on this session, we're excited to bring a guest who is going to be talking about the fitness part of our health, how to get started with fitness and how to really navigate the world of fitness. In the fitness world, we hear so many things. We hear eat this, eat that, do this, do that. This is how to get started. That's how to get started. And we have someone who has seen it all. We have someone who have heard it all. Someone who have practiced it all. And she's going to be talking to us today, or over the next few minutes. And she's going to be taking us on what fitness really means and how to really get started with the subject of fitness as pertains to our health, so that we can always stay several steps ahead of our upcoming health challenges. So our guest for today is Joanne Groups, and she's been a fitness trainer and has been in the fitness world for well over, the past 30 years, and that's a very long time. I must say, that's a very long time. And she's done so many things. She's seen it all. She's heard it all. And as we progress in this session, I'm going to talk about her more, and so many other things pertaining to her. Please make welcome. Please put in the comments and welcome our guest for today. Welcome her. Put in the fire emoji. Put in your engagement as we welcome our guest for today. Just stay put throughout the session. If you have any questions, you're going to ask at the end of the session. And let's get started. Please give it up for Joanne Groups. Put your hands together. Put your virtual hands together as we welcome our guest for today, Joanne. All right.
How are you doing? Thank you for having me here. It sounds like you've got a busy household there.
All right. Joanne, can you?
I can hear you. It sounds like you've got a busy household there.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
I can hear you fine. Yes.
There is
an echo on this.
All right. I think it's because my mic is on. So I'm going to off my mic, and then you just get on with your session and then take it away. Thank you for being on here, and welcome to the session.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, now do we have the echo? Well, the echo's gone my end, so thank you very much for being here. I'm Joanne Groves. Oh, no, we've got an echo again.
That's interesting.
I think that's it. Yeah, it's definitely to do with the mic. Sorry, Prosper. You can come in and go out when you need to. So yes, I'm Joanne Groves, and absolutely, I've been in the fitness industry for over 30 years now. But I would say that in that journey, one of the things that I have learnt is what works for me may not work for you, because we're all unique. So I'm going to share with you some of the tips that have helped me, that have also helped my clients, and also help the students that I work with, those that are also personal trainers. I'm a course director for Faster Health and Fitness, and one of my biggest passions is to remove the fear and the barriers that tend to be in the way of our fitness journey. And if you've ever got up in the morning and thought, yes, I am going to do something today, and you've said that all day, but you don't actually do anything, then you're not alone. And where I would recommend that you start is thinking about what is important to you. What are the things that you would like to be able to do? So rather than thinking about what are we preventing and fear, but what do we want to be able to do? So if we were, would we like to be able to play with our grandchildren? Would we like to be able to go for a walk? Would we like to be able to do some gardening? Would we like to be able to live to see our children get married? Those types of things. Because what tends to happen, certainly with the people that I've worked with, you have a lot of people that think, oh, I'm not sure why I want to move. I maybe want to look better in an outfit. And that's all very well, but it's quite short term. And if you do have a little sit down with yourself and say, well, what do I want? What is it that I would like to be able to do? And what are the things that make you happy when you move? Is it going for a run? Is it playing with your grandchildren? Is it, jumping over hurdles? I love a Spartan or a Tough Mudder. Those sort of things to me are great. But to my mum, well, there's no way she's going to get in the mud. That's the last thing she wants to do. So it's really, really important to start with, what it is you would like to be able to do. And from there, think about the things that you enjoy. If you enjoy moving to music, if you enjoy being on your own, if you enjoy lifting heavy objects, if you enjoy pole dancing, for example, whatever it is to you, because it's a little bit like when you're eating. If you are eating a diet full of broccoli and you don't like broccoli, you're not going to be interested in that for very long. So thinking about strategies and thinking about ways of finding something that you enjoy is a great, great starting place. Now, from this point, you may want to seek help from a fitness professional, but there's loads of things that are available now that can help you, whether that's going to YouTube, whether it's going to TikTok, whether it's downloading a workout. I myself have a workout that I deliver online every single day that's available to everybody to watch over on TikTok or on YouTube. So there's lots of things that are available to you just at a click of a button, which is fabulous. But even then, it can still be super challenging. And one of the reasons it can be super challenging when we talk about preventative health, that's a long way away, because most of the time we're in a situation where it's the here and now. And am I going to be inspired to get up off my chair and walk out of my house and walk down the street or walk down the garden? Or on the way, am I going to get distracted and think, oh, actually, I might just sit down and have a drink, or I might just have a snack, something like that. So it's how do we take away that within there? So bringing in small little steps. The first one, finding out what it is you'd like to be able to do. And then I think it's really, really good to go, right, I want to do this. I want my health. I want to be able to play with the grandchildren. But then ask yourself, what if this could never happen? Then what? Because it's at that point that we go, well, either, well, it's not that important to me, so then we have to go back and find out what is important to you, or you find that it is something that is deeply connected to you. That might be, I don't want to die at the same age as a parent potentially has, or I don't want to be sick, or I don't want my partner to leave me because I'm snoring and now they are sleeping in a different room. And so if we can get to this point, we can find something that really, really does make us go, this is important to me. And once we've got that, it's going to be easier to break it down into smaller steps. And that's where, if you find something you enjoy, then it can be the most rewarding thing. Don't go for the broccoli, go for the things that you love. If you are somebody that likes being outside, go and find yourself a park, go and find yourself a football team, go and find yourself a group of like-minded people that you can share time with, socialize with while you're moving. All of those things can definitely help you snack into a more successful fitness habit, and building up on these gradually. No one training session has ever changed anybody's life. Okay, no one big squat has ever changed anybody's life, but what has is that consistency to come back. So the most important thing is that you allow yourself to experience something that you enjoy that's going to keep you coming back and moving for more. So as somebody who trains personal trainers, my role is to help them get that information from clients so that they can then go away and build an experience for you. And so I'm going to be thinking about, what are the areas you like to work out in, train in? Is it outside? Is it in a gym setting? Are there any pieces of kit that you like? Do you like lifting heavy weights? Do you prefer using maybe a tea towel, less intimidating? My mum doesn't like using big weights. She's worried that they might hurt her. So she started off using a tea towel, and then we gradually started to change that to light weights, and then gradually increase those weights as she builds her confidence. And then think about, in an exercise format, what it is you enjoy about it. Now, for me, I love a good, tough workout. I like to sweat. And that's quite similar to my daughter. She loves to really feel that heart burning. and she was a rower. So she's used to putting in the time to practice and to compete. And she's very, very competitive. So if I was to design a program for her, I want to make sure that I'm matching that feeling in her heart to how she likes to train. So I want to make sure that it's tough. Okay. And then I also, sorry, you've got a question. Let me just, I can't hear you. Ooh.
I think your voice is really low. I think your voice is low. I don't know if they can hear you. You can ask them if they can really hear you. From my end, your voice is low. So if you can, increase your voice, it's low on this end.
I'm not sure why that is. Edit audio. Let me just retry that. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you now. I don't know whether it's this system. Have you had this before? Let me know. I can't hear you, so I'm not so sure.
Yeah, you can go ahead. We can clearly hear you now. It's much better now.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the experience for my daughter, and she is somebody who likes to train hard. She's not afraid of hard work, but being a rower, she's very, very competitive. And so when she's in that session, she likes her heart rate to be up and she likes to feel that sensation. She also likes to feel 2 days later that her body is a little bit sore. That's her ideal workout. But that's not everybody's ideal workout. So if you have had an injury potentially and you don't want to feel your bottom or something like that, then there are ways of training so that you don't feel those areas, but you can still get the benefits from exercise. As we age, it's really important that we keep moving, not just for our, well, there's so many different reasons. As we age, one of the things that happens, we start to get something called sarcopenia. By the time we get to 60, we've lost 10% of our muscle mass, and that's huge. That's massive. And so we need to make sure that we're giving our body the opportunity to move more and maintain that muscle mass and stop it wasting at that rapid rate. All we need to do is make sure that we add some more resistance training to our programs. So lifting weights, or it can be body weight, press ups, things like that. You could go for a walk and then maybe do a little bit of jogging within that walking time. The other things that we need to do as we age is we actually go through a time where our bone density reduces, and that can increase the risk of fractures if we fall. But the good news is that with weight training, with exercise like running, like plyometrics, like strength training, then we can improve our bone density. So that's improving both bone density and offsetting the sarcopenia. The good news as well is that if we do that, then as we age, your bone density is going to increase twofold the risks of you falling. Whereas actually, there are studies to say that our risk of falling and getting fractures increases 13-fold just by not having the skills to be able to move and hold our balance. So things like balance training, and I don't just mean standing on one leg. So what I mean here is that ability to walk from one foot to the other. That doesn't sound like much, but it takes a small child a long time to learn that because of the skills that it takes from the body to be able to coordinate that right sequencing and that right power output at the right time. But the key is if you can add more reactive balance training into your workouts. then you can reduce those risks of falling. And so that's something that is going to be super, super useful. And from the studies I was looking at, those people that remain more active throughout their life are much better at responding to exercise in their aging years. So that's a really good thing to do. For women that are going through the climacteric period, you may have heard of menopause. So what happens from around 10 years before we actually go through the menopause, women may be going through premenopause, perimenopause, and then menopause is just 12 moons after their period has stopped. And once you get to that date, that's the menopause. It's just a little event. So I prefer to call it the climacteric period because it can start 10 years before you get to that actual pause of the menopause. And as our hormones start to change, again, this influences our bone density and increases the risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis. It also increases the sarcopenia, so that loss of muscle mass. So again, really, really important for women to take up strength training exercise. The other thing that it does as well, when you do your strength training, it helps build those muscles, which will then give you more support around those joints. But it doesn't stop there. You need to bring in cardiovascular training too. Why? I'm glad you asked. And that is because of longevity. Cardiovascular training is the only form of exercise with robust evidence to suggest that will improve our longevity. So for that reason, it's not an either or. So some of the myths that I see around social media is that as we age, we should just do strength training. Well, that's not true. We should do strength training, but we also need to do cardiovascular training to make sure that our heart is strong, to make sure that we've got that advantage of in living longer, but healthier for that time. When we lose our muscle mass, what also starts to happen is we start to change where we hold our body fat, because as the metabolism starts to slow down because we now have less muscle, and women start to change where they store their visceral fat from their bottoms around to the tummy area. And so again, for those reasons, really, really important to make sure that we're doing both our cardiovascular training and our strength training. And I mentioned that the risk of falling increases massively. And so if there's one thing that you can get your mother, your father to do each day, that is to practice going from one leg to another leg. So it's not just about holding still on one leg. It's about, can they react to their center of gravity shifting over? So those sorts of things can be super, super helpful. Now, I'm sure that you've got people that are talking about the medical side of reducing the risks of falls, which 40% of falls come from a lack of balance issues. And that's what I cannot stress enough, the need to bring in reactive balance training to our lives. So it's super, super important. And what you can also do is check that your elderly loved ones aren't going blind, that they haven't got any medical reasons why they're losing balance, eyesight, hearing, all of those sorts of things, medication. And if they are fighting those things, to just take little steps, make sure that they've got good lighting in their house, make sure they've got slip mats, those sorts of things. Now, when I was asked to be on this, I was told that you might want to hear about some of the myths within the fitness industry. And there are a lot of myths within the fitness industry, and a lot of them are based around fear. And the reason for that is because fear sells. And if the industry can make trainers feel like if they don't do this certain technique or that certain technique, then you, the client, are going to get injured. It means that that trainer buys more education. And so we just need to be aware of what those myths are. And I want you to know that it does not matter if when you squat, you don't squat like your mate Dave, because you're not Dave. Your body is unique, and movement is complex. But very often people oversimplify it by saying that the biomechanics need to look a certain way in the laws of physics. And while it's important that somebody moves to the best of their ability, it's important that we recognise that the way we get to our best movement needs to be our path that we govern. And so if we can remove that fear, it means that we don't have to worry that we're not moving like somebody else, or we're not comparing ourselves to another person. But as long as it feels good to us and our body, that's key. If it feels uncomfortable and you've got any form of undiagnosed pain, you should always go and get it checked medically. Okay, so from a medical doctor. And from that point then, once it's been diagnosed, you can do the right thing for you. But if you see that somebody says, oh, you have to do this movement like this, ask them why. Why you're supposed to do it like that. And a lot of the time, they can't tell you. And the reason is it's just been passed on that you need to move in this certain way. If we look at famous athletes, the way they move, the way they run, the way they lift, the way they throw a javelin, every one of them has got a unique style. And most of our athletes are asymmetrical. And yet within the fitness industry, they would have you believe that if you're not symmetrical, you're going to get an injury. And that's not true. You may have also been told that you need to have good posture. Now, I think it's great that somebody wants to look after you, but what is good posture? What is posture? So posture is the way our body holds itself according to the mood that it's in. So if you see somebody who's going into a funeral, their posture will possibly be stooped and low and somber because how they feel. But if they're going to a wedding, they're going to be upright and they're going to be happy. And all of a sudden, their posture has changed. And yet it can be so scary when people say, oh, that posture, if you stand like that, you hold yourself like that, you're going to get an injury. Well, do you know what? That is a correlation, not a causation. There was a study they did where they took 100 people that had MRIs, and for the first time ever, they MRI'd 100 people, and what they discovered for the first time was that some of those people had herniated discs and had pain. But some of the people had herniated discs and they were worse and they had no pain. And some people had no herniated discs, and guess what? They had pain. But this was amazing because prior to that point, people only went to the doctor when they had pain. If they got an MRI, it then showed that they had a herniated disc, and 2 + 2 = 5, and posture causes an injury. And that's just not the case. So knowing that means that we've been able to learn so much more about pain. An example of correlation is if you eat ice cream, you're more likely to die of a shark attack. Now, that is not a causation. Eating ice cream doesn't cause shark attacks, but the correlation is in hot weather, more people eat ice cream in hot weather, more people go swimming where there may be sharks. And so it's really important that we unravel the truths and the myths within the fitness industry. So the next time you see somebody who is stooped over, see if they're okay. Or if they're running and they're down here like this, we might be thinking that's not a very efficient way of moving. But what I like to do is say, hey, you're doing a really amazing job there. And all of a sudden that person goes, oh, thank you. And what you've done is you've lifted them. And if you're running, if you're upright, you're going to be more efficient. So you're going to be able to run for longer. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But what we've done is we've allowed that person to experience and find their joy in movement and their best way of moving. And so if you have anybody that's helping you with exercise, but they're barking orders at you, knees in line with toes, shoulders pulled back and down, and squeeze your bottom in tight, just say to them, you can go on pause, thank you very much, and I'm going to get somebody else, because your body is amazing and it will find its best movement, particularly with guidance that you can get around. Now, some of the other myths that I wanted to address, foam rollers. Have you heard of a foam roller? If you have, you can drop it into the comments there. Well, if you haven't, I might just leave it there, because you never need one. You never need one. It's again another little technique that people introduced with an idea that it could lengthen a muscle, a tissue, which is bizarre to me. I'm the one that used to do foam rolling, by the way. If I could have gone back in time and spoken to myself and said, why are you doing that? I would have said, well, because it will lengthen a muscle. And then I'd say, well, you know that can't be right, because we know that it takes 12 weeks to change the shape of a muscle, whether that's to make it grow stronger or longer. And it will only grow long enough as the bone will allow. So why was I thinking that standing or lying and rolling on this foam roller, which let me tell you is quite painful as well. It's I'm trying to see whether I have something, but what you would do is you would roll your thighs on it, and it would make your eyes water, and temporarily you would get an increased range of motion. So that might be you felt like you could reach your toes or something like that. And so for that reason, I thought it was really good. Everybody seemed to be doing it. But you know what? Just because everybody's doing it, that just means more people were wrong, not that it was actually right. And so for me, I went on a journey where I discovered Faster Health and Fitness, who I now educate for, and they taught me how to read research, and they taught me how to ask better questions. And so what I really wanted to know was, how could I recover after going for a 5K run? And when I looked at the research with that question, didn't come back to foam rolling. And so what had started to happen were people started to make up problems that the foam roller would solve, or myofascial release would solve. And it's one of those things that if you have heard of it and you use it and you like it, fine. You know, we all do a few things that are a little bit odd because we're humans. And, you know, you might find that you like to take the top of a bottle off in a certain way. I don't know. That's fine. And if you like foam rolling, then I would never take it away from someone. But from my position where I charge for health and fitness training sessions, I couldn't charge somebody for something that isn't doing anything. It's not lengthening the tissue. As I said, that takes 12 weeks. What it's doing is changing the central nervous system's perception of range and danger, and allowing you a short-term change in feeling. And that's really important to understand, because that could sound great, but the problem with that is it's short-term. And what we're looking for is long-term goals, long-term successes, and moving forward with our movement plan. So far we've got just a little recap. Find out what motivates you to move, what inspires you to move, what gets you going. I love this. Is it kicking a ball around? If it is, do it. Do it with abundance and keep doing it and inspire others to come and join you. Be brave. Know that your body is amazing and trust it. And if you feel good, do it. If it doesn't feel great or you get any form of unexplained pain, go and see a doctor about it. Do not be frightened into having to move the same way as other people through this theory of standardized form. Form is good. It's being aware of how our body moves, but think about more joyful ways in which we can develop movement, whether we can play games and find that, we are quite successful at running because look, I managed to get to that ball. I managed to get to that ball in the left, in the right. I managed to step sideways. All of those things will help improve your skills. If we can make it fun and start to treat movement the way we did when we were children, then it will be easier to make it part of our lives. So I think the best coaches out there to inspire us are the younger generation coming through. Watch them in the playground. They don't have to move in a structured way. They move through joy. And all movement is having information from around us that becomes important enough. And we go, whoo, I either need to get away from that or I need to get towards that. So this is either an opportunity, it's either food, somebody who's attractive, something that's an opportunity, or it's something that's dangerous to me and therefore I then need to get away. And at that moment, after you've had this chemical reaction in your muscle, you've got this emotion and then the brain has to do something about it. So it goes to the brain and then the brain goes, check, 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 check. Is this dangerous? What did your neighbour say about this scenario? What did your best friend say about this scenario? Have you ever done this before? How skillful are you at doing this thing? You know, who's watching? Who's watching? All of these things are going to be part of the brain checking. What's the story? And from that, it will take an action. And the action it will take will reinforce whether this scenario, this feeling, is an opportunity to us or whether it's danger, freeze, fight, or flight. So if we can create scenarios where we're moving and the body goes, yes, I've done this before, I'm awesome at it. It will go, yes, I'm going to do that again. And it will get that dopamine and it will want to carry on and doing it. But if we reinforce feelings that aren't nice, then the experience isn't going to be nice. And as I've mentioned, no one squat, no one deadlift, no one running race has ever changed our body for longevity. It's consistency. So finding what we love, what makes us tick is really, really super important. And my thoughts, if you have a question, go for it. But any of the other myths would be there are no 5 best exercises for anything.
All right. Thank you so much. You know, it's really been awesome, and there are lots of things I've really gotten from just this few minutes, and I'm sure our audience have learned a lot too. But there's one question that was dropped in the community, and then I really want to ask this question. I have this question personally, and also I think many other people would want to listen to it. So there is this there's a scenario where people tend to think, should I be working out and getting into fitness because I want to have a great body? For the ladies, they want to have a good shape, they want to look nice and all of that. And for the guys, the abs and all of that, the physique, should I be getting into fitness for that? or should I be getting into fitness just for, just to stay healthy? And if I'm getting into fitness for the looks, some people come out and begin to judge and tell them all of that. You're just, and for some moms, for some moms, they think if you're a mom and you're getting into fitness, you're trying to look good, that makes you an irresponsible mom. That makes you know, taking care of your family. All you're concerned about is this, and all of that. So how do we create that balance between getting into fitness just to be healthy, and then to look good? Is it how do we deal with that and what people say, and all of that? You understand the question?
Yeah, I do. And I think yes. So what I think with that is aesthetics, it seems to be more transient, because you might change your body shape, but it doesn't stay changed. As we age, it continues to change. So transformations, for me, I'm not interested in the transformation diet and the transformation world. However, if somebody gets into moving because they want to transform their body, and on that journey it creates some healthy habits that they can take, then that's brilliant, and we should be encouraging that. What we do need to make sure is that on any journey for aesthetics, it can be a low motivation, because it's not deeply rooted to something strong. And so if your desire is to lose weight or build muscle to look good on a Friday night, the problem with that is 8 o'clock at night, you might be feeling a little bit hungry and go for the wrong fast food, or the wrong thing for your body, because you don't have that to keep you going. So I think that within health as well, obviously the health and fitness industry, it does walk that balanced line of diet culture, which is not good. People getting eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and that side of it, that's not health. And sometimes social media can promote an unhealthy side of fitness, as if that were fitness goals to look forward to. And for me, I would like to see more education for young children coming through, of what health is. That, as I said, that ability to be able to join with your friends and play different games and be part of the community, all of those sorts of things. You did remind me of another myth, by the way, and that is the spot fat reduction to get a six-pack. Again, when someone says these 5 best exercises for your six-pack, no, there isn't 5 best exercises. You cannot spot fat reduce. So if you are looking to become more lean and see your six-pack, what you need to do is make sure that your diet is on point, and you need to move. Now, like any muscle, you can build muscle, and so you can build your abdominal muscles. And what you would need to do is put them through ranges of motion that require them to work hard under load. But the problem with the spot fat reduction is that's a lucky guess. So it could go from absolutely anywhere. So you need to be making sure that your diet is healthy. But I would say on that if anybody is out there looking for a ripped six-pack, that's not so much health. A lot of people that have a ripped six-pack aren't healthy.
I think that
Just to clarify, some people naturally are that way. Some people have a big bottom and a tiny waist. But that's not the case for everybody. So it's worth looking at, is this a myth? Am I chasing a fitness ideal that's not real?
I think this is a very big one here. So, what people really think, especially here in Africa, and when people look at some of these fitness models, and they look at them, their ribs, their muscles, the abs, and everything. They look at those people as, once someone is like this, then they're absolutely healthy. They are doing the right thing. So now you are dispelling this, that even if someone has that, it doesn't automatically translate to being healthy, right?
Yeah. I mean, when we look at fitness bikini models and competitive, there is that fine line. And for me, the health side of it is far better, but in the same light, I don't want to close the door to anybody. And if somebody's getting into fitness, like when my son, he was 17 when he started thinking, right, I'm going to go to the gym a bit more, I'm going to train a bit more. I'm not going to stop him because he'd got a girlfriend and wanted to look good if he took his shirt off. I'm not going to stop him from doing that, but to make sure that it remains a healthy process. And that's taught him good habits. He's now thinks about eating healthily. He thinks about moving more. So I think those sorts of things are important.
All right. That's a great one there. Yeah. So the next question for you, I think our time is already fast spent. I don't know if you can still, go a little bit more.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, our audience, it's more of younger people, the younger generation, Gen Z, and a little bit of the millennials. And these people are, they are newly taking control of their lives. They are, getting into fitness. They are getting into different things. Just they have that control. That control is really coming in new for them, and they are taking, just like your 70-year-old son you talked about. He wanted to start taking control and doing certain things. So looking back at your experience over the last 30 years, and what you've seen in the fitness industry, and some of the unrealistic expectations that is being shoved down their throats on social media every day, what would you advise them to do, from everything you've seen so far, and the correct way to really go about fitness? What would you advise them to do? Who are the people to listen to? Who are the people to follow? What do they really do? How do they navigate their way to ensure they don't make mistakes that they would end up regretting? For the girls, maybe trying to get a particular body shape. For the guys, trying to look like a particular person, maybe a fitness model on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever. So how do they really go about this?
I think, I spent 15 years doing many things that were wrong. And I followed gurus. And my biggest tip is going to be something that doesn't just help within the fitness industry, but helps with life. And that is question everything. And nobody is too important to be questioned. So just because they have doctor as a title, it doesn't mean you can't question. It doesn't mean they're right. So there are a lot of fallacies that people use to create an argument seem really, really good. And so when I started training with Faster Health and Fitness, they told me that they were wrong on their last course, and that had never happened to me before. And they invited me back to do the course again. But what they did, which was worse, is they said to me, you need to learn how to read research. Now, I used to be an actress. And so for me, the thought of going to PubMed and actually looking at an academic study made me kind of just, want to vomit. That was not something that I wanted to do. But they gave me a process. And what I will say is it's not as scary and it's not as difficult as you might think. And so be careful in this world when we've got lots of different avenues of getting information, but knowing what information to trust can be very, very difficult. And so if you have got a passion for helping other people in the fitness industry, ask the person you're following when they were last wrong. And if they don't remember when they were last wrong, they're probably not the great person to follow. Look at research studies, and if you can, think about the question that's relevant to you. And that might, you know, whatever that might be, say you've had an injury or whatever, or maybe you want to find out the best way of growing a muscle. Well, let's go back to the foam roller. You know, what's the best way to improve recovery? Now, if you go in and say, how do I use a foam roller to recover from a run? It will tell you, but that has your bias within the question. So it's about removing your bias and trying to find out better information. So that would be one of the things that I would advise. Watch out for red flags. If anybody is definite on their answer, that's a sign of a red flag, because anybody who's more open to searching will go, well, it depends. So when you said to me about those that go in for aesthetics, is it good or bad? My response was, it depends. Because it can be good, because it can lead people on a good path. And sometimes it can be very bad because it can lead people into eating disorders. So it depends is a safer place to be, particularly from my perspective. So watch out for those red flags. Anything that's definite, these 5 best exercises for, doesn't exist. You know, it just doesn't exist. So look out for those red flags. Is that helpful?
Of course, that is absolutely helpful. That's absolutely helpful. I can tell you just this tip. You know, it's really a game changer for so many people, because you know there are a lot of people online, you know, saying different things. You know, the 5 steps for this, the 10 steps for that, and you know all of that, and you know setting unrealistic expectations, and you know making these young people and sometimes even older people, you know, make certain mistakes. Just like you said, you know, you made mistakes for 15 years. You know, that's really not everybody would say that. You know, not everybody would be, you know, open to say that, you know, that you made mistakes for that long, and but now you're on the right path, and you know, the things you do now are evidence based. And then I think also the part of, you know, questioning people just because someone has a doctor to their name, or just because someone said, you know, I am this or that. And you know, the African context, it's more authoritative, you know. People in authority, whether a fitness model or whatever, you know, in any capacity, you know, once they are the authority in that field, they feel like, I'm giving you this law and it's the 10 commandments, and you know that's it, you know, and you know, and all of that. So, and you know, people tend to, you know, just want to follow that. But I think this is a great one here. All right, so I think someone commented. I'm going to ask the question there on the comment before I get to the next one. So I think that's Ace Samuel. Let me just put it on the screen. Um, can you see it? It's on the screen.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah,
My eyesight.
All right, let me just read it. Let me read it quickly. It says he says he goes out for exercise once every week. He said, must we exercise daily?
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need
we need
to
to
do
do
30 minutes,
30 minutes,
at least 5
at
days
least
a
5
week
days a week
of
of
light moderate
moderate
exercise,
exercise.
and we need to
And we
strength
need to
train
strength
twice
train
a week.
twice a week.
Oh
So
wow.
get some more.
Get
So
some
get some more
get
walks
some more
in if you
walks in
can.
if you can.
All right. So I think that's pretty clear and straightforward. So Samuel, you get that. So you do exercise, you know, every day, and you know, even if it's a little, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
just like she said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another question here, which is very crucial, I think, is the part of stress management. Um, in Africa, there's a lot of stress, for people, especially young people. They are just getting into the workforce, and they are working, putting in everything they can and all of that. And sometimes, they may not even have time for exercise and all of that. So, is there a relation between exercising and stress relief? Because there have been certain things around that, exercise to relieve things like meditation and yoga and all of that. So how does that really is there just like you've been talking about evidence based
There's a
practices?
couple of
There's a
things,
couple
yeah.
of things, yeah.
So one of the things I
One of
wanted
the
to
things I wanted to
address
just address
was
was
evidence-based.
evidence-based.
Everything is
Everything is
evidence-based.
evidence-based.
If my
If
dad
my
told me
dad
that there were
told me that there were
fairies
fairies
and I believed
and I
him,
believed him,
I'm
I'm
believing
believing
evidence-based.
evidence-based.
It's just very
It's
poor
just very
evidence.
poor evidence.
Mm.
So
So
we
we
must make
must
that
make that
differentiation.
differentiation.
Sorry,
Sorry,
do you mind
do you mind
blocking your
blocking
mic?
your
It's
mic?
so
It's so
repetitive.
repetitive.
Thank you. Sorry. So evidence-based, everything is evidence-based, and we need to make sure that what we're looking at is the quality of that scientifically tested evidence, because that is a big difference. And particularly in the fitness world at the moment, where everyone says this is evidence-based, they even say it's scientifically evidence-based, and then it's a cherry-picked paper done on a piglet or something like that, and it's like, no, that's not what we mean. We need the studies to have gone through. You need to read hundreds of studies. It needs to be done on large study size groups. The author needs to be a reputable person who's knowledgeable in that topic. So that's one thing. And then bringing that back to stress, I'm not a stress expert. My expertise is not mental health. And I think it's really important that we stay within the scope of practice of who we are and how we're helping someone. Having said that, stress, anxiety is a feeling. And so once you start to understand that that is a feeling, trainers that are good at programming and understand, I touched on it, that we have a trigger and that trigger will create an emotion, and that emotion will mean that we get a chemical change in our muscle and a contraction. And at that point, the emotion hits and our brain has to decide whether it's threat, freeze, fight or flight, or whether it's an opportunity. And if it's stress, it's a feeling. And if the action that we take to that stress reinforces that this was a negative, a danger, then we are going to be building an experience of stress. And then what happens is we don't need as much information to get the trigger that creates the emotion, that creates the checking system from the brain and the feeling that brings that experience. So what we want to do is work out how we intervene at that point, whether it's, this is stressful, I can feel my heart rate going, but that's good because at the end of this, I'm going to have learned a new skill, and it's okay because I've got a friend with me. That can change the way we respond to the feeling, and that can then reanalyze it and it becomes less threatening. And then we start to change the feelings and the experience. So I'm going to give you an example. Say, for instance, you go into a house because there's a light, and you go into the house and it's all a bit creaky, and you go into the kitchen and you hear some noise upstairs and you think it's an axe murderer, because obviously you're in a house alone. It's a horror film. You've got a choice. You go, it's unlikely that it's an axe murderer. You know, this is a lovely street, and so you would go upstairs with a friend with a torch, and then you open the cupboard and there's a cat or a dog in the cupboard, and you go, oh, that's all right, it was only a cat, it wasn't an axe murderer. Okay, but if you're in that kitchen, that living room, whichever, and you hear the noise upstairs and you go, that is definitely an axe murderer, and you leave the house and you walk back home, and you get up the next morning and you go, I'm going to put my trainers on and I'm going to walk down the street, but I'm not going to go to the street with the house with the axe murderer. What you're doing is you're taking an action that will build stress and anxiety. And then the next day goes by, and then you get up and you go, I'm not going to go for a walk today, because walks lead to the road that leads to the house that leads to the room with the axe murderer. And then it can get even worse. You can get out of bed and you go, I'm not getting up and putting my shoes on, because shoes lead to walking, and walking leads to the street, and the street leads to the house, and the house leads to the axe murderer. And before you know it, you're stuck in bed with anxiety. And if we can start to see that stress and anxiety are feelings, if there are certain things that are right for you that make you feel better and help you readdress that stress isn't such a problem, or it's okay to be stressful. Stress is talked as though it's awful, whereas some people thrive on stress. So we have to look at how we interpret that stress. And if for you, you're the sort of person that likes to lie quiet for a while, or go for a walk, or spend time with a pet, and if that makes you feel better, then that's great. And you can use that as a strategy to help you. For me, I like to go for a run. That makes me feel that, oh, everything that I've got going on, you know, is not too difficult, and I can cope. So that's my coping mechanism. So all I can do is share with you things that have helped me and helped my students, but within the context of, I'm not a mental health expert. So you can, you know, reach out to somebody who is, if you are struggling.
All right.
Did we have any other
Did we have any other questions?
Yes.
Just waiting to see if anybody's got any more questions, and then I'll answer those questions. But that was an
Yes.
interesting one about stress.
Yes. So you answered Samuel's question about the daily exercise, and I think his commenting is giving you a thank you note. He said, "Thank you very much. I will create time to start exercising daily for at least 30 minutes." But he said that's huge. All right, then.
Just start slowly.
Start slowly. It can just be
Small steps.
small steps. Small steps.
And
Yes.
if 30 minutes seems daunting, start off with 5 a day. Just build up those
30 minutes.
All right. So someone else asked. I think I'll ask this one, then I'll get to the last one. Someone is asking. Adeze Princess. Adeze, it's an African name. It's an Igbo name. It means princess. So she's asking, please, is it advisable to eat before going for an exercise?
Now I'm going to
use
the word that I
used before.
It depends. I would love to give you a black and white answer to that, but there isn't one. So if you feel that you can eat and it doesn't make you feel sick or anything like that, then eat if you want to. Some people will say, oh, you should exercise when you've been fasting. And I would say with that, again, it depends on what your goals are. if you're looking for marginal goal changes, then you might consider that. But often you just feel like you don't have enough energy and you can't complete the workout that you want to do. So I'm sorry, Daisy Princess, that it's a depends on that one, on what works for you, your body, and your actual goals. So to know a little bit more about that, that would be great. And also, if anybody is on here and they're looking to start with a fitness program, I do actually have videos on YouTube. I also have a live stream that I do every day on TikTok at 8:30 a.m. If anybody wants any personalized help, they just have to reach out to me and I'm more than happy to get back and help. Sometimes I just need a little bit more information of where they are, what their skill level is, how much they do. And, you know, so that was a great thing where when we were asked by Samuel about going up to half an hour every day, because he's absolutely right. If you've only done once a week for half an hour, maybe start off gently, you know, but have a goal there and see if you can buddy a friend along to come with you. Oh, and that did remind me the other thing, because my big passion is letting you all know how amazing your bodies are as they are. I just wanted to give a little reminder of Usain Bolt, because he's damn awesome. And I don't know if you know, but he has a severe scoliosis. And in the world of fitness professionals, that would be deemed that we needed to correct his posture. And I'm like, I think he's pretty good at running. I don't think he needs to have that corrected. So I've actually asked a group full of fitness trainers, just showing pictures of his spine. I've said, oh, this is my client. It wasn't really, obviously, but I pretended and I said, this is my client. They want to run. What do you think? They're not in pain. And honestly, the amount of people that said, absolutely not, don't let them run. Make sure they do strengthening exercises and sort out the back posture and balance out the muscles, and absolutely don't let them do any form of heavy weightlifting. Well, that's Usain Bolt, and he weightlifts pretty heavy, and he's just pretty good at running. So yeah, he's my inspiration.
All right. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. You know, there's been a lot. There's been a lot in this. You know, in the past hour, and you've really said a lot of things. Really said a lot of things that we're still going to get back to much later. You know, distill them. You know, cut them up, and you know, really digest some of these things. And I really want to thank you for being on here. You've really exceeded the time, but you are still here. The time you were, you know, supposed to close by 8, or you are well over that, and you are still here. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on here. Then I wanted to give a last word. You know, what would be the last thing, you know, in your 30 years, in the past 30 years, and, you know, you've been in this industry, and it's just like you've seen it all. Anybody who has been in any industry for 30 years, you've seen it all, you've done it all, you've heard it all, and, you know, you've really seen it all. So what is one thing you would tell people who are just starting out? You know, what is the one advice you give to people who are just starting out, young people who are just starting out, getting into the fitness world with all of this, you know, information bombarding them, telling them to do this, you know, and some of the fitness coaches they see online on Instagram, you know, backing others, you know, telling them to do this and to do that and all of that. And it seems like, especially for the guys, you know, it seems like the, you know, motivation. You're a guy, especially in Africa, you know, there's this, you know, you are a man and you don't have to show pain. You don't have to, you know, be soft. You have to just, you know, get at it, do it, no matter the cost. So what would you tell our audience out there?
I think my biggest thing is to be open to change. And so where I stumbled in the past because I trusted gurus, I trusted social media. Not that there was as much social media back then 30 years ago, but and I used education as that thought of, oh, well, this will give me everything that I need. And it doesn't. It doesn't. So now I'm happy knowing that everything I do with my clients is to the best of my ability with the process that I use of questioning the research. And so that means that if I am using a technique today and then tomorrow I find out, oh, that's not the best way, that's okay, because then I don't have to battle my ego. I don't have to go through that. All I do is go, the research has now changed. And to be fair, it's not that the research has changed. It's probably that we've learned to ask better questions. And as we learn to ask better questions, we get better answers. So always be open to keep questioning and change as and when your questions improve and you get closer to that knowledge. But try and do that yourself. Get to PubMed, get to the research articles, and reach out to people like myself. And I won't ever tell you how you should train. What I will do is give you the tools to be able to go and question it yourself.
All right.
One more. Make it fun. And know that you're awesome.
All right. That's a really nice one. Thank you so much for all of that. And I think much of the fear, the anxiety, and people are really anxious about getting started. When they see all of these fitness models and all of that, yeah, where do I start? And so I think all of the things you've said have really cleared that up, and they can really get started. So, Joanne, I really want to thank you one more time. You've really done a good job over the past hour and a half, and you've really hit a lot of things, dispelled so many myths. So I really like them to connect with you. I have your, from the bio you sent, I have your details, the TikTok, the Instagram. So yeah, if you're out there listening, you can connect with her on Instagram, you can connect on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. And just like she said, she does sessions on TikTok every morning by 8:30. Is that 8:30 UK time or West African time?
It is indeed.
And also, if anybody's thinking of becoming a trainer,
okay.
then I'm happy to help.
All right. So if you want to become a trainer or you want to just get started with fitness, she is the sure plug. There's something we say in Africa, this person is the sure plug. It means this person is the go-to person. This person is the person you should go to. So you are the sure plug when it comes to fitness. And whether you're getting started as a fitness trainer, you want to get started with that, or you just want to get started with your journey on fitness. I'm going to drop the links to her, handles on the community WhatsApp group, and you can click on that so that you can connect with her, or you can ask her questions and get started with her. All right. So thank you one more time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
And how funny that the questions came from Samuel and Daisy. Both are my children's
names.
Oh, wow. Wow. So your children's name are the same names?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really nice. That's nice. So you have children in Africa now. That's good. So thank you so much for being on here with us. We hope to have you some other time, and it was really an exciting session. Thank you. Even though we had some glitches at the beginning.
Yes, I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, we had some glitches, and it was really really bad, but then here we are and we've done it, and yeah, it went well. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.